So, I want to give my opinion on the current discussion happening about Torrey Craig and Megan the Stallion. And just an FYI, before I get into the topic, I just dropped a new video on my second channel. So, make sure you go watch and subscribe if you're interested in my non race related content. The link is in the description box. Now, back to the topic. So, apparently, Black women are mad at a woman named Olivia Davis, who is the ex girlfriend of Torrey Craig, an NBA player who is currently dating Megan the Stallion. And Black women are mad at her and her friend because they said on their podcast that they were confused about Tory's type in women because all the women he's been with look the same, aka they're all white. So Black women are outraged because they felt that these two women were saying that it's impossible for Torrey to be attracted to Megan because she's a Black woman. And it started this whole conversation about how Black men who date white women still like Black women and how men like a variety of women. They don't really have a type. And while I agree that there are many men who desire a variety of women, including Black women, for me, it's just kind of cringe to see Black women, and especially unambiguous dark-skinned Black women, trying to prove to white women that Black women are desirable to a Black man who we've only seen date women who are lighter skinned or white. And I hate to be the one to go there, but ladies, if you don't look like Megan the Stallion or you don't look like Tori's baby mama, you should have set this one out, in my opinion. And I say that because unambiguous dark skinned women, especially, have to get out of this mindset that just because a Black man dates a light-skinned woman or a light brown-skinned woman, in Megan's case, that it's a win for all Black women. Or because he makes a light-skinned woman a baby mama, that means he likes all Black women. And this is not me saying that Torrey isn't attracted to dark-skinned women, but we've also never seen him with one. So as far as we know, Megan is the darkest he'll go. And that's fine. He's allowed to have his preference. But that means that this isn't really a win for dark-skinned women, nor is it your fight. And let's just keep it a buck. Only time will tell if it's really a win for Megan. Because if you ask me, he looks like a walking red flag. But that ain't none of my business. Megan will have to learn that lesson on her own. But when it comes to Olivia and women like her, I have actually experienced women in the Black community who act like her. So it's not just white women. There are many women who think that because they're light-skinned or higher up on the beauty hierarchy than the next woman, that a man is not supposed to want that woman, especially if he's told the other woman that she is his only type. This can happen with any type of woman who looks different from you or has a different body type than you. And for the unambiguous dark-skinned women listening, you can attest to this happening with both non-Black women and women who are lighter-skinned and or mixed as well. They've been told their entire lives by men that they are the preference. So when a man, a desirable man, chooses us, it confuses them. And I told this story before on this channel, I'm sure, but I remember a long time ago, I was at my friend's house and me and her older brother were out on the porch. And at some point, my friend went in the house for a minute and it was just me and her brother sitting outside talking. And, he was being kind of flirty, but he was also a lot older than me. So he wasn't really trying to do too much. And while we were talking, apparently his girlfriend, who was a light-skinned woman, rode down the street and saw us chatting on the porch. And some time later, she came to the house and I'm not sure where he was at that time. But I remember her questioning me about him flirting with me. And she made a point to tell me more than once that he liked light-skinned girls. And I remember saying something like, I do not want him. It is perfectly fine. And I really didn't. I wasn't even looking at him like that. I wasn't even thinking about trying to compete with this woman for this man. But that just goes to show you that women of any race, especially when they're male identified and they're used to hearing that they're the preference, they will react just like Olivia did anytime someone they deem to be lower on the beauty hierarchy gets attention from a man that they like. And I do feel that Black women are more willing to have this conversation when white women react that way versus when light-skinned women react that way or women in the Black community react that way. Because whenever I've said the same thing about light-skinned women or women who are mixed with Black, all hell breaks loose and I'm all type of bitter and jealous and I'm not telling the truth, but clearly it happens. And it's very interesting how y'all are willing to acknowledge that it happens with white women, but not mixed and light-skinned women. I find that very interesting, and I had to bring that up. Now, I do understand the conversation about white women specifically, the white women who date Black men, thinking that it's impossible for Black men to like Black women because of their white woman privilege and their white woman pedestal. But that's just delusional because even in the NBA, most of the players who are married to Black women. And I believe it's the same for the NFL. The higher ups that control the media just like to show the interracial couples the most to trigger Black women. And also, we can't forget that the most influential Black men are always putting white women on a pedestal over Black women or non-Black women in general. So when you have all that going on, there are going to be a lot of white women and Black women as well that think all or most Black men want white women. But in my observation, and based on what we've heard a lot of Black men say, Black men as a group are more attracted to light-skinned women and mixed women more than white women. But I don't think many white women, especially white women like Olivia and her friends, I don't think they realize that because they're not really paying attention to what's going on in the Black community. They're looking at all this Black male, white woman propaganda in the media, and they're internalizing that, and Black women are too. And we also can't forget that white men have made white women the beauty standard, as they are supposed to do. Those women are their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, their aunts, etc. White men are not like Black men. They're not going to put other races of women above their own. So that's another reason that white women think like Olivia and her friend. But in my opinion, what white men are doing in the media wouldn't even matter as much to Black women if Black men didn't publicly put non-Black women on a pedestal over Black women or negatively compare Black women to other races of women. That is the biggest issue here. So Black women and dark-skinned women especially, if you know that Black men often put both light-skinned women and non-Black women on a pedestal, why are you trying to prove to white women that they like Black women? It's Black men's job to prove that. And until they do that, nothing you say is going to hold any weight. The only thing that's going to hold weight is if influential Black men, meaning celebrity Black men, very popular Black men, would start coming out publicly and correcting the white women like Olivia and her friends when something like this happens and letting it be known that they prefer Black women only. A bunch of Black women attacking white women and yelling at them about how much Black men like Black women too. That's not going to work, ladies. The only fix would be influential Black men taking light, bright, and white women off of a pedestal. And we know they aren't going to do that. So it only makes you look pathetic as a Black woman trying to convince other races of women that Black men like us just as much as they like them. Because they're always going to have a Black man coming up behind that saying how they're so much better than Black women. And you also have to recognize the type of white women and non-Black women who are competing with Black women, and specifically competing with Black women over these low-quality, high-earning men. Let's be honest, it's usually the throwaways of other communities. To my understanding, Olivia is or was a P-star or a corn star, so to speak. You know, I got to censor myself on YouTube. So despite her being the beauty standard, she's completely ruined her reputation among the high-earning men in her race. So the only place she still has value in the eyes of men is the Black community. Because as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And we all know that high-earning Black men will gladly take the white man's trash and uplift her over Black women. So I actually don't blame Olivia and her friends for going where they're celebrated. I recommend that all women do that. But just know that they're focused on Megan and Torrey because their stock as S-workers is highest in the Black community. They have little to no choice but to compete with Black women for men. That's the only community that they have a chance at scoring an extremely high-earning man. And that says a lot about the social standing of Black men. And if you're a Black woman who's trying to level up, move up in class, and navigate in certain spaces, you wouldn't even care about a man who dates white corn stars or care about anything these women have to say. And if white women corn stars are flexing on Black women because Black men have hyped them up so much, then who's the real problem here, white women or Black men? And be clear, I don't personally have anything against S-workers, but on this channel, we talk about leveling up. So being around a bunch of S-workers, that is not the social circle that I prefer to be around. And S-working in general is not conducive to leveling up and moving up in class, especially as a Black woman. So personally, I wouldn't want to be attached to any man who had a public history with S-workers or corn stars. Notice I said public history. I'm just talking about playing the game here. So I personally wouldn't want to be attached to a man like Torrey. I don't care how much money he has. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, well, Black women have no social value either. In my circles, I'm not treated like a corn star. I'm treated like a classy woman, and I'm a very Black woman. I don't have the reputation of an S-worker or a corn star. And I wouldn't want that, not for all the money in the world. So when I look at these women like Olivia on this podcast, these are not women that I want to be like. And I'm sure most of you Black women don't want their reputation either. And look what kind of men that it gets you. I mean, look at Kim Kardashian. She is rich AF, but her reputation's in the trash. And she has Kanye West as a baby daddy. I'm sorry, but that sucks. And despite her being white and rich, she's still not respected in the same way that a woman who doesn't have her reputation and doesn't have her history is in our society. And is that right or fair? No, but it is what it is. And y'all know that I operate based on how the world is, not how it should be. So I wouldn't want my reputation attached to an S tape. And when it comes to dating, women like Kim K, Olivia, her friends, women like that, as conventionally attractive as they are, they're usually not capable of bagging a bunch of rich, successful white men because of their reputation and what they're known for. So unfortunately, they will probably have to date Black men for the rest of their lives, or either those pillhead, drug addict type of white dudes, those ratchet kind of white dudes, like that young white guy Kim K was dating for a while. And I'm not saying they won't get lucky, but that's most likely the pool of men they're stuck with choosing from. So of course they're going to be hyper competitive with Black women. Bagging a rich, dysfunctional Black man, that is their only hope of living hypergamously ever after. I'm just keeping it real. And I'm not saying that all non-Black women compete with Black women for Black men, because they don't. But the non-Black women who can't compete with other women in their own communities for men, they tend to be more competitive and more hostile, more racist towards Black women, and everyone can see it. It's because they usually are the throwaways in their community. And this is why Black women, you have to be very careful of dating the non-Black woman's throwaways, because I see some of y'all Black women, some of y'all swirlers with these bottom shelf throwaway white men too, and bottom shelf non-Black men in general. I do think Black women on average swirl a little bit better than Black men. Usually we choose better, but some of y'all do be choosing these white dusties and white pookies, and that's not cute either. Personally, I like dealing with non-Black men who were actually able to pull decent women of their own community. Women who are not considered bottom shelf in their community. Men who are similar to me and have decent options in every race. I don't date non-Black men because I can't get a decent Black man. I've said time and time again that it's the mindset of Black men. It's the culture in the Black community that I find unappealing. And I just have a better experience with dating non-Black men, so that's who I date now. But I have never dated out because I can't get a Black man who's decent, or, a Black man who's decent on paper. And I've dated a wide variety of men. I mean, if you line up all the men I've dated, they all look different. But because of that, I actually prefer non-Black men who have a history of dating a variety of people like I do. Because that's usually a signifier that he's not a throwaway and he's not just settling for a Black woman because that's all he can get. So Black women, when dating non-Black men, when vetting them, you need to be very mindful of that. Avoid the bottom shelf and the throwaways, ladies. You don't want to be the woman a man settles for because he couldn't get his first choice or his real type or preference in a woman. And let's talk about men and their type for a minute, because I see a lot of Black women using this Torrey Craig situation to make the claim that men don't have a type. And I only partially agree with that, and I'll tell you why. There are different types of men. There's men who really don't have a racial preference in women and date a variety of women and will settle down with any race of woman. And there are also men who will sleep with any race of woman and then settle down and marry a specific race, which is usually their first choice. It's important to know the difference, ladies. It's important to know the kind of man that you're dealing with, especially as a Black woman. And anytime I warn Black women of that, especially when it comes to Black men, I always have people accuse me of saying that nobody prefers Black women outside of sex, when that's not what I said. There are plenty of men who prefer Black women and will settle down with a Black woman. It's just that y'all are not good at differentiating them from the men who won't. If you were good at distinguishing one from the other, you wouldn't be trying to convince people that Torrey Craig likes Black women. With the history that he has, that is not the hill that you would choose to die on. Again, just because a Black man makes a light-skinned woman his baby mama does not mean he likes all Black women. That don't mean he's going to settle down with one and marry one. It also does not mean Black women are his type or his first choice, especially the Black women I'm seeing jumping up defending him. And I cringe every time I hear women make the argument that men have no type because they like to screw a variety of women. Because of course they'll screw anything. But who is their preference for marriage? What type of woman do they want to settle down with? What type of woman would they choose if they had the money to get any woman that they want? That is the question that you need to ask, ladies, especially if you're interested in getting married or dating a man. Because this is how a lot of y'all end up with men who don't like you, or men who only use you for sex, or end up leaving you for their first choice when they get money because you think you're his preference just because he slept with you. I agree that men will sleep with any type of woman: fat, skinny, dark, light, white, black, man, woman, trans man. But to say that none of them have a type that they're most attracted to or a type that they prefer to settle down with is not true, ladies. It's not. And I feel like a lot of you are trying to cope and you have this wishful thinking that men like all women the same regardless of phenotype. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't. And think about it. If men don't have a type, why are people always telling Black women that non-Black men don't want us? Why are both Black women and Black men always telling us that? But with Torrey, all of a sudden men don't have a type. You notice how that only works with Black men? Do you notice that? If we encourage Black women to swirl, all of a sudden no white man on the planet will ever want a Black woman because we're not their type. None of us will get a high earning man because high earning men don't like Black women. Y'all also said that high earning men don't like fat women, they don't like thick women, but men don't have a type. Which one is it? So yeah, I don't even think y'all believe that shit for real. I really don't. And while I don't think it's a problem to get with men who date a variety of women, you still want to make sure that a man is willing to settle down with a woman who looks like you. That is my point here. And you'll know by how he treats you. Is he treating you like an F-buddy, or is he actually courting you and taking his time with you, showing genuine interest in you beyond sex? Is he taking you to meet his friends and his family, etc.? Him sleeping with you and all different types of women does not mean that he does not have a type. He's just pumping and dumping until he finds his type. That's what's happening. And because so many women are clueless about this, you're the pumping up chick. You're the one he's pumping and upping. And look, nothing's wrong with men having a type. Women have a type too. And some women and men are way more strict with their type than others. Me, I'm an example of someone who's not so strict. I like a variety of men. Outside of my pro-Black phase where I felt like I only had to date Black men, I never really had a set type when it came to race and color. But I still have a preference for tall men, and I'm strongly attracted to men with downturned eyes. That is the sexiest thing in the world to me. So that is my physical type. Now, is it mandatory that the men I date have those physical traits? No, but that doesn't mean I don't have a type. So most men have a type just like most women do. Now, with all of that said, does this mean that I think women should brag to the next woman about being a man's type? No. Should women center their entire existence around being a man's type or attempt to contort themselves into being a man's preference? No. Be the best version of you and you'll attract a man who likes it. I promise you that you will. And Black women, the overall point here is that you don't get anything out of trying to prove that Black men like all types of women, including Black women, especially men like Torrey. And you definitely don't get anything out of trying to prove that to white women, white corn stars like Olivia and her friends. No smart woman of any race will be fighting over a Black man in 2025. And I feel like some of the non-Black women like Olivia and her girls, I feel like some of them are still glamorizing relationships with Black men, while Black women, especially the Black women on this side, we're moving on. And if you are a Black woman and you're still fighting with non-Black women over Black men in 2025, you're down bad, especially with the way this economy is headed and the direction the world is moving in, Trump being back in office. Why would any woman in her right mind attach themselves to the poorest men on the planet, both economically, socially, and so on? So when you realize you're not missing out on anything with them, you become indifferent. And that's exactly how I wish most Black women would move when things like this go viral. In my opinion, the best course of action is for Black women to stop engaging and let these women have the baby daddies who like corn stars, men like Torrey. Ladies, level up and leave all these people behind. You will have a much more peaceful life, I promise you that. So that is all I wanted to say about this. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you in the next video.